This is something that YouTube has really made it seem like your claim saving grace is a lay statement, and I'm here to tell you that it's not at all, not even a little bit. So here's the truth, okay? I do have some templates that I'm going to show you, but first we need to get down to the truth on how these statements actually support your claim. Statements do play a role, that is a fact, but it is nowhere near the level of what many believe when it comes to your VA disability claim. There are essentially two different types of statements. You have one, statements for service connection, and two, statements for increases. Now, these can either be personal statements written by you or lay statements, aka a buddy letter, written by someone else. Now, there are a few claims that I always recommend submitting a statement for. And then there are a few claims where statements mean absolutely diddly squat. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen veterans write statements that have absolutely zero meaning or zero support for their claim. And that's really what I want to show you today. Let's start with the symptom statements that I always recommend. And these are for conditions that can't really be x-rayed or seen through an MRI. So conditions that I always recommend veterans should submit a statement for is mental health, migraines, and IBS. Those three are always, yes, submit a statement for. Things where your symptoms start creeping into your lifestyle. If you have a spouse or a partner, a lay statement would be solid, but keep in mind your spouse or your partner or whoever's writing that statement is not a medical professional. So they can't diagnose, they can't do anything. All the statement is going to be used for is saying, hey, here's this event that happened, and here are the symptoms that I observed during that event or events over a period of time. That's really for mental health, for migraines, things like those conditions. Now, for IBS and a personal statement, you want to talk about your consistency between constipation and diarrhea and what that relationship is, as well as any abdominal cramps. For migraines, you want to talk about the severity and the frequency of your migraines. Now, keep in mind, this is what I really want to preach. I really want you to understand this, is that a statement, whether personal or lay statement, doesn't matter. A statement is way down here, okay? Medical evidence is way up here. And so you will really see statements shine when your medical evidence, right? You went to your provider, you went to your psychiatrist, your physician, whatever that looks like for you, your foot doctor, okay? You went and saw them, you were diagnosed, you have the symptoms, you have the evidence. Your statements, when you will really see those shine when they support your medical evidence. When the medical evidence isn't there and all you have are statements, that's when statements are, and just to be very frank about it, stupid, okay? Stop submitting statements in lieu of medical evidence. That's not the purpose of a statement, right? With the exception of an event that occurred and there's no evidence for that, one, you're already fighting a losing battle, okay? Just prepare to be denied and go to the board, but we'll talk about the board here in a second when it comes to statements. Now, conditions that I would not recommend a statement for is anything that is musculoskeletal. And again, we're talking about symptoms. So you writing a statement saying when you wake up, your back hurts and you're always in pain doesn't mean anything, because at the C&P exam, you're going to go through what's called range of motion. So bending forward, bending backwards, side to side, rotation. Your statement ain't got nothing to do with that, okay? Unless you're talking about how you can't tie your shoes because of range of motion. Outside of that, your lifestyle statement doesn't mean anything, because 38 CFR doesn't care about your lifestyle when it comes to the range of motion of your knee, okay? So keep that in mind. There are conditions that I always recommend statements for, and there are conditions that you really won't have much play. And something that really gets under my skin, and for some reason, I don't know why, I've had many veterans enough to talk about it. Not just one, not just a few. Many veterans tell me that their sleep apnea claim was denied secondary to mental health or sinusitis or rhinitis or whatever. It was denied, although they submitted statements saying that sleep apnea was secondary. And that makes zero sense because we are not medical professionals. That's not a medical opinion. Me writing a statement saying I have night terrors and PTSD and I snore at night has nothing to do with the fact that your sleep apnea is at least as likely as not connected to your mental health. It's not. One, that's going to require a medical opinion, tons of correlating factors. We won't really go into sleep apnea right now, but your statement has nothing to do with the secondary service connection. So before you write a statement, just sit back, take a breath, and say, hey, does this statement actually support my claim? Now, what I'm finally going to do is show you a template, and it's going to talk about your statement for service connection and your statement for increases. And this part is the meat and potatoes, okay? Now, you can download this. You go to CivDivOnline.com. You'll see it below in the pinned comments. You'll start at home, click templates here, and bam, it's right there. Once you click download, I already have it open. So here it is. Here is this statement, right? I have a 3-paragraph template, and then I have an actual statement where you can see what where I plugged and play. So the first paragraph is all about, now this is service connection, okay? If you're already service connected and you're going for increases, then you want to focus on the second paragraph. The first paragraph is that service connection, the in-service event. The second paragraph is that current diagnosis. And the third paragraph is we're going to call it a nexus, but it's absolutely not. It's just saying that due to your records in service and your current condition, you believe that it's service connected, right? So this paragraph is almost useless, but it's more of a, hey, VA, help me out type, right? And you'll see that it mirrors the big 3, the in-service event, the current diagnosis, and the nexus. Bada bing, bada boom. So the first paragraph is all about that service treatment record. Hey, my service treatment records do contain complaints in month, year. I'm using migraines as the example here. Events leading to the medical visit, right? Whether that was a health assessment, whatever that looks like for you, the first paragraph is all about evidence from service. So if you're writing a statement for a condition that is not service connected and you want it to be service connected, this is the template for you, this first paragraph. Now, moving into that second paragraph, if you're already service connected and it's for an increase, the second paragraph is for you. If it's for service connection, you need all 3, okay? Now, the second paragraph is going to I'm using VA medical records here as the example, but it could be private. It could be whoever your provider is, whatever that evidence is would be included here in this statement. Side note, if it's private, you are absolutely going to want to share those records with the VA, okay? But looking at your VA medical records and all of your current complaints. So not only do we have evidence from service, but we also have current complaints. And then the third paragraph, right, is just saying, hey, help me out, VA. Now, you can read this. I'm not going to read this here. This video is already a bit longer than I wanted it to be, but this is the actual template for service connection. And again, if it was for an increase, you would essentially just take this part out and then really hone in on that second paragraph when it comes to what your symptoms are. Here's the truth about statements. Statements do help, just not like YouTube says they do, okay? Not like the internet says they do. If your only evidence is for statements or is contained in statements, you're going to be denied, okay? You're not going to find this in the M21 TAC 1, but it's my personal opinion that statements really do come in clutch at the Board of Appeals, where you have to create that story and show clear indications that that condition is connected to service, that these events did happen. the Board of Appeals is going to weigh your statements heavier than a rater at the VA doing hundreds, if not thousands, of claims every single week. Food for thought. Statements do help, but make sure they support your medical evidence, because medical evidence is king. Self-reports is nothing.